Look, y'all, it's snowing outside. Hi, I hope you can hear me all right because the central heat just turned on right when I was getting ready to record this. But I thought I would just come on here and give one of my usual updates and kind of explain why I've been gone so long this time around, which is nothing unusual for this channel. And also I'm working on a blanket for my dad for Christmas. So I don't really know where to begin because this is kind of just like a woe is me kind of pity blog, even though it's not. I'm not wanting pity, but it just I just feel like I need to talk about some stuff, get some stuff off my mind. So of course last year lost my job. I've been having a hard time finding a job since then. You would think that the retail world, it'd be easy to get a job, but it's not so easy for me. And that may be because I have a lot of limitations with my schedule, like the time frame that I can work. So that may be a huge reason why I'm struggling to find a job elsewhere, because it seems hard to find a company that's willing to work with a schedule. Like, everybody says that the scheduling is flexible and whatnot, but really they want people who are available full-time, who have like open schedule, open availability, and I don't. Like, I can't drive in the dark. It's too dangerous for me. And also with, well, maybe not so much recently, but there's been like a lot of doctor's appointments in recent history that I've had to take my dad to and whatnot, and that kind of hinders things. But anyway, it's been a struggle for me to find a job, which has created a lot of stress in general, because when you don't have a steady income, that hurts. And also because I've obviously depleted a lot of my savings, a lot of it last year when Domino's got really sick. But then fortunately my aunt was able to come through and help out with stuff, and I'll get into that in a moment. But that really hurt. Things have been really weird lately too. But before I get into that, I guess I should backtrack. So there's been a lot of times where I wanted to film, but it's just same old story, same story, different day. But basically things have been really hard, I guess I should say. And I don't even, okay, so let's go back to the end of June. I got a text from my cousin one night that he was taking my aunt to the ER. And when it took them like over 24 hours, I think, like it was after they'd been there for well over a day, well over 24 hours before they were able to get any kind of answers with what's going on. And so a little backstory, over the years, especially in the most recent years, her lungs have just kind of deteriorated away. And it's one of those pulmonary things. I don't remember what it was called. It's something that I hadn't really heard of in association to the word pulmonary. I mean, well, it's something that I hadn't really heard of. It's pulmonary something. But anyway, and I've never heard anybody else say it any other time other than in association with her. But, oh my gosh, Sir Kitty. Like I said a moment ago, basically her lungs were deteriorating away. And I was under the impression, my dad and I were under the impression for a long time that it all started due to, she had, I can't even say the word right, eczema. really bad. And so years ago, she had a doctor prescribe her a medication that was basically used for cancer. It was like a chemotherapy type medication. And initially, I don't know how the word even got around, how we even came to that conclusion, but we were under the impression that that's what caused her lung problems. But apparently she'd had this pulmonary issue. I guess it just organically developed. I don't know if it's genetic or whatnot, but among all this, what was it, a couple of years ago, she went in for something to do with her heart. And at the time, they found out that her heart was either upside down or it was backwards. I forgot what, but that's something. And I feel like that's gonna come back and play into my future somehow. I really need to go to the doctor and just get a full body checkup, as my dad says, because based on my family history, I'm at risk of so many things, and it wouldn't surprise me if my heart was messed up, just because I've inherited pretty much most everything. And even on my mom's side, her mother's side of the family is notorious for heart problems. So I feel like, or I guess I should say, it wouldn't surprise me in the future if I found out that there was some abnormality with my heart too. Anyway, basically this all leads up to her lungs. Her breathing has gone drastically downhill, especially in the last year. She became dependent on being on oxygen, and she had a portable oxygen thing, little like thing that she could strap on and wear, and that she could carry around. That made it more convenient for her to leave the house. But we were over there one day, and a lady came by to do a check-in with it, and determined that it wasn't functioning well enough for her, and because her level wasn't getting up after a few minutes of walking around, that they basically took her portable oxygen machine back. And then she was reliant, if she wanted to leave the house, she had to take the big ginormous tanks with her. Sir Kitty, excuse me. And that made it very difficult for her to leave the house. So it got to the point she only left the house basically for doctor's appointments. So anyway, so I guess at the beginning of June, my cousin had taken her to the ER then, and they had her in for a few days. She'd had like, I know it's something to do with extra like fluid around her lungs and whatnot. And I wasn't meaning to get into all this. This is turning out to be longer than anticipated. But basically, she'd been in the hospital for a few days, was released, and then a few weeks later, my cousin's texting me that he's taken her to the ER. And then what they decided on was that they thought she had pneumonia, which, I mean, that's bad as is. So anticipating, that'll take a couple weeks. Oh my gosh, it got tangled up. It got hung up on my jeans and then it just flew off. Okay, that hurt. Oh boy, it's just got into a huge cat fight. I really didn't want to do a whole lot of editing with this video, but I think I'm going to, just at the way it's going. Again, things have been really weird, and I guess it's the whole energy I'm putting out right now that's kind of making things even worse for the cats. But so thought it was pneumonia, and then I think a day or two after that they determined it wasn't pneumonia. And this was like, my dad had his cochlear implant surgery coming up, so they were running tests, and I don't know, she had fluid all around her lungs again, I think. And they were giving her stuff to try to dry it up and to get it off and to clear it out or whatever. And I don't know the full details, But I remember hearing that after a few days, whatever they were doing, if it didn't work, they were going to consider putting her in hospice and getting that arranged. So at this point I was like, this can't be right. And again, I don't remember the details or know the full details, but it was probably like a week and a couple of days before my dad's surgery, and I was thinking, you know, when he's having his surgery, she'll probably, you know, of course she'll still be in the hospital, and I can go and visit her then. Like, there was really no plans to go visit her. My cousin, I think he was saying that, you know, it's probably for the best if we didn't visit, just because of the situation and her struggling. She couldn't talk because she had to have the oxygen, and it was just, she's too weak. And so the week before my dad's surgery, find out that she passed away. I really don't want to cry either. But basically, I think our preacher had visited her that morning because he's getting ready to go on a mission trip. And so they said that before our preacher came, that she and my cousin had a really long, good conversation, and that he came and, you know, basically, I guess, prepared her in the event that she didn't make it. And then after he left, I think he said that she took a peaceful nap, and then she awoke in. And I know he said something about, like, they were singing Amazing Grace, and then she passed. I'm gonna try to be, like, collected now. It's just so hard it's still hard to deal with. Anyway, so because the preacher was on a mission trip and whatnot, we ultimately didn't have a traditional funeral. It just, later on we had the memorial service, so that way our preacher could, you know, have it. And then we had never had really a funeral for my uncle who died last year. So they ultimately decided, or I guess my aunt and cousin had ultimately decided that when she passed, that they would have a celebration of life together, since the two of them were involved with, like, up at church. They were always together. They were the music directors. My uncle was the choir director, and my aunt was the organist, and then they had a pianist, but she would fill in with that too when needed. But I mean, they were, where one was, the other was. Like, they were just, everything they did together. They were just the dynamic duo. So yeah, we had that in August up at church. That way everybody could come and, you know, they could do it then, just have one celebration of life. So anyway, going back, so the week after she passed, my dad, we were at Vanderbilt, which is where she passed. I swear, I've got this whole thing with Vanderbilt. Anyway, because Vanderbilt is why my store closed. The satellite campus they have is, they wanted our spot to expand Vanderbilt over where I worked. And our store, having been there for over 40 years, they wanted our spot, because they're like, they want the whole, it was Hundred Oaks Mall, they want the whole mall, but we were the business that had been there the longest was the one that got kicked out. I had finally gotten my schedule. I had finally gotten the schedule I wanted. I was in a good place financially with the job. I was in a good position with the job, and just, I don't know. And then there's been a lot of memories come up lately with my mom and Vanderbilt, but we won't dig into any of that. Anyway, so right before, when they were prepping him for surgery, I had one of my my little, I don't know, they always, with my grandmother, they always called them little spells. Like, she always would have her little spells, and I guess I had one of my little spells, and I got really sick. And fortunately, we're up there with all the nurses, and so the nurses took really good care of me and got me back on my feet, to say. But yeah, that was a really rough day too. And basically, when I was having to, since my dad's blind, I was having to sign the paperwork for him, and because he can't hear either, because that's what he was there for, was a cochlear implant. I was in the middle of almost passing out, almost threw up, almost passed out, sick to my stomach. Yeah, but that's when the doctor let us know, which really I heard it more so, but I was having a problem explaining it to him because I was about to lose consciousness, that there's risk in the surgery of, like, the ear that he had the implant. There was a good chance, or there's like a 30% chance that he would lose most of the hearing, which he didn't have a lot of hearing in it to begin with, thus the surgery. But there's a good chance that he was going to lose a lot of hearing. Well, a 30% chance. And my dad didn't fully comprehend. He wasn't really hearing that well or understanding that well. He thought he's like, no, because after the surgery, he's like, no, what did they say about me losing more of my hearing? And I had to explain it to him then. But ultimately, he did lose that hearing. And the implant, they told him it would take like 10 to 12 months for him to get adjusted to the implant. And it's only been a few months now, but it's been a struggle. A lot of people he's talked to said that they struggled with it, but ultimately they were glad that they got the cochlear implant. But he's saying that he really regrets it. I don't know. I'm hoping by next July he'll be happy with it, but it has been a struggle. And he wears his implant. He'll wear it all day except for like right before he goes to bed. But even then, I can be talking to him and he thinks I'm in a whole different, like, I can be behind him talking to him and he thinks I'm in front of him because he can't see. Or I can be at night, if I need to let him know something or ask him something, he can't hear me. I can be, and even with the implant, he still can't hardly understand what I'm saying. So you would think that it'd be better to an extent with the implant than before, but it's a struggle. Like, it's to the point where we don't talk a whole lot. Like, I don't even bother trying to talk to him a lot because it's just a struggle trying to have a conversation when he either doesn't hear me or he understands worse than he did. It was a struggle before. Like, I'd have to repeat myself 6 or 7 times, and now I'm having to repeat myself like 12 times. So that's been a whole thing. And then of course we have to go every so often for them to check it out and whatnot, and to configure the different things. But also, they've decided to get him another hearing aid, which that was a whole other debacle. But he currently is waiting on a new hearing aid to come in for his other ear. So hopefully that will help some. I don't know. Okay, let me get back to crocheting a bit. But yeah, that's been a whole struggle. That's been a huge struggle. All of that. And then recently, things have still been pretty crazy. We went to celebrate my friend's birthday, and our friend got a hotel room and whatnot, and so we went to our usual bar that we go to, and the night started out fun, and I had my usual drink from the bar, and we were sitting down outside. And these 2 guys, like this older man and then a guy who was like our age, came and joined us. And the one who was like our age sat beside me. And so I was drinking my drink and everything was fine and dandy. And then it got to a point to where I remember being in my friend's brand new car and getting sick, and apparently I had a plastic bag in my hand, and I remember feeling the need to throw up, and I was like, oh, did I throw up? Like, I remember thinking, well, at that point, I just knew I needed to throw up and had a plastic bag in my hand. But then I next woke up on the floor of the hotel room feeling horrible. And then I got to thinking, I was like, oh, did I throw up in her car? Which I'm the awful person who threw up in my friend's brand new car. So, felt like trash about that. Felt like trash in general. But I remember thinking back, because I was like, I should not, I mean, I had a drink at the hotel. I had a strong drink at the hotel, but I mean, I was feeling good. I was feeling really good. But, and then at the bar, had the drink. I was feeling good. But I shouldn't have been nowhere near blackout drunk. Like, there's no way that I should have been that drunk off of what I drank. But I remember at one point, the guy beside me leaning over, which I had my drink on the table in front of me, and I remember him leaning over me to talk to my friend. And at that point, that could have been, like, he did that, I remember him doing that at least twice. So that may have given him a prime opportunity to slip something in my drink. But yeah, so I found out later that, well, my friends caught me up, and apparently he was getting kind of aggressive when they were trying to leave with me, and they were catching me up on things that I was doing and saying, which I have no recollection of. I have zero recollection of anything. I just remember sitting at the table, and the next thing I know, I'm in the car for a brief moment, and then it's the next morning in the hotel room. But, yeah, so they caught me up on that, and then the guy, I guess my friend had given him her number, but he had popped up on a Facebook recommendation, or a friend recommendation on Facebook, and so when she sent me a little screenshot, or she sent us a little screenshot of that, and so I looked up his name on Google, and I knew he wasn't, like, when we were talking to him, here goes the phone. Where was I? Oh, let me backtrack a little bit. The phone was ringing and kind of got me a little off track. But let me backtrack. So the older man that was with him was his uncle, or so that's what they were saying. And because I remember asking, I was like, where are y'all from? And the uncle was from here. But the guy was from, I'm not going to say where he was from, but he was from another state up north. Or north of here anyway. And, just in general. So when I looked up his name, there was an article about his name. It was him. He had been arrested for basically like domestic violence in some city, which I think is up near where he said he was from. But then I got to thinking, like, so I said, like, we were on a three-way call, my friends were, when I came across that, because, well, anyway, it doesn't matter. But later on, same day, just later on, I was like, well, let me look up, here in Nashville, let me look up his name on the Nashville record specifically. And so I pulled up his name, and he had a couple of different things come up on his record, and I went and read through his record. This is his arrest record and whatnot. And well, basically, it shows that he was in prison. He had been charged with aggressive kidnapping and attempted murder. So that tells me all I need to know about him. Because I think my friend was trying to be like, one of my friends was trying to justify, you know, didn't want to paint him as bad. He didn't want to assume the worst about him. And like, because I think there's question, like, I felt like I was roofied. Like, I'm fully convinced that I was roofied, but there's question of like, maybe I just was blackout drunk. But I don't think I was blackout drunk, because I know what it's like to be blackout drunk. I've been blackout drunk before. I mean, she has been around me when I've been blackout drunk, but there's been other times I've been blackout drunk too, and how the aftermath has been. And in my soul, I know I wasn't just blackout drunk. In my soul, I feel like something was off, because it took me even days after it happened, I was struggling. Like, I had a hard time leaving the house. I felt really foggy. Like, I felt like I had the brain fog. I felt like, so I'm very sensitive to certain medications, especially over-the-counter allergy and sinus medications. I hate taking anything when I'm sick because of the feeling just from the medicine, and this was beyond. Like, I just felt drowsy. I felt foggy. I felt so disconnected. Like, it was strange. For several days I didn't feel right, and it was hard. Like, we needed to go grocery shopping, and I eventually, like 3 days later, I kind of forced myself to get out of the house and to drive me and my dad. And even the whole time I was driving, I was scared, because it just didn't feel like, I felt like I was just not connected with my body, and that if I needed to maneuver quickly to like brake the car or something, I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to function properly. So that was not a fun trip out. But when I saw his record, you can't tell me he didn't tamper with my drink. And especially with the way he was getting aggressive with my friends. And just, But, my friend's aunt worked at the bar, and she gave her update of what we suspected, and sent her a picture of the guy with his name and everything. And eventually I guess he did come back. We've been back to the bar since, and there's some regulars there, and one of them, she was there that night, and she said that he did come back to the bar, and there was a situation going on, and said they did call the police on him, and I guess he was arrested or escorted away or something. So that was, it could have been a lot worse. It certainly could have been a lot worse. Anyway, and then in more recent history, so right before the week before Thanksgiving, went through this whole ordeal. I was trying to put money in the bank so that I could have enough money in my account for my car insurance, and all the ATMs had been down. Like, one day in particular, all had been down around where I live, and we even went to the bank itself, and the ATMs were down. And during the time that the bank was supposed to be open, there was like 2 cars in the parking lot, but like which is weird that there are only 2 cars in the parking lot, but all the drive-throughs were closed, and the bank was closed, which, I mean, it was a normal holiday. It was not a holiday. So I don't know what was going on, but anyway, the next day was super rainy, and then this puts us at a Wednesday. The Wednesday, like a week and a day before Thanksgiving. I'm like, I've got to get this money in the bank. So we go out there, ATM's still down at the bank, but the drive-thrus were open, so I was the only car sitting in the drive-thru, sitting there for about 20 minutes just to deposit some money. That was a whole ordeal. I don't know what was going on, but which makes me wonder about like what's going on with the banks in general. Like, is this something going on? I know other people have been having issues with their banks. Is it a sign of the times? Something getting ready to happen? Just saying. But anyway, when I got into the car to go to the bank to begin with, I noticed the back seat had been ransacked. Stuff was thrown everywhere. And my Betsey Johnson towel, I keep a white Betsey Johnson towel in my back seat because for a long time I had issues with sunroof leaking, but it became a thing. Just leave it, like even when my mom was alive, she always had a towel in her car because we have leather interiors. So it's always nice to have a towel in your car when you have leather interior, or I guess any kind of car, it doesn't matter. A towel comes in handy for multiple uses. So I noticed that was gone, and I checked all my little storage areas in my car had been rifled through, but everything still seemed to be there. They even left where I keep my Aldi quarter. Fortunately, they left my Aldi quarter, but I don't know. They even rifled through my CDs. Like I have a Gavin DeGraw CD in my car, and they could tell it looked like it had been rifled through, but fortunately they didn't take that or any of my other burned CDs that I have in there too. Now this happened years ago when I was an MTSU student. It happened over the course of 3 months in my driveway, and there was one time, like when that happened, they stole pillows out of my car. They stole my Burt's Bees lip balm, which at the time was hard for me to come across Burt's Bees around here. But anyway, they stole one of those. And then they stole my freaking Hanson CD, which really ticked me off. That who would steal a Hanson CD? This is like back in 2006, maybe. Just stupid idiots. But this time it was like just the Betsey Johnson towel is the only thing that I can find that they took. I don't know. I don't know if it's because it had been raining, like, I don't know. It happened sometime between Monday night and Wednesday morning, which again, Tuesday was a really bad rainy day, so maybe they felt that they needed a towel to dry off. But I think they were really looking for guns. There's issue, like people talk about all the time, car break-ins around here because people are looking for guns. And no, I don't lock my car. Well, I have recently, but in general, I don't lock my car because I'm always paranoid that if somebody wanted to break into my car, I'd rather them open the door than bust out a window. So, but they didn't, like the van, I keep that locked, and that, fortunately, they didn't bust out any windows in the van, so, I don't know. But also, I don't know if it was that, like, if it was during that time that whoever rifled through my car, there was one night within those few days that all the cats were on my bed. This is probably like 2, 3 o'clock, maybe 4 o'clock in the morning. And it sounds like there's a bird flapping up against one of my windows. And it was so weird. And that Tukey, it was out of character for Tukey, but Tukey kind of went like, she got in like a defensive mode and hunched down and then snuck up, like ran and snuck up to my window and just kind of stared at it for about 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes. It was a long time. It kind of freaked me out. I was like, I didn't know. I'm definitely not going outside to check and see what's going on, but yeah. So I don't know if that was connected to it or not. It was bizarre. Oh, and then also, the same day of this whole putting my money in the bank and taking forever to the drive-thru, it felt weird. Everything felt weird, but I thought maybe I'm just being paranoid because with the situation with my car, because I was on edge. And even at the bank, it just felt weird. But little things make me paranoid. So I'm just trying to get past it. And I wanted to go to Dollar Tree to get a few things. And of course, they were out of some of the stuff I needed. But I was able to get like some other, like some food items. I really wanted some food items because, you know, food's kind of crucial to staying alive. Anywho, coming back home from Dollar Tree, cut through my family street, go by my family's cemetery, you know, deuces, fam, what's up? And so, turn off of my family street onto the street I live on, and the sun is blinding in my eyes, and I can tell that up ahead in the right lane, there's a white car with its tail lights on with its brake lights on, but the sun is glaring, it overtakes my windshield, but there's a shadowiness, and there's like a bridge up ahead. There's like a red light and a bridge, an interstate overpass up ahead, so usually that interstate overpass casts over a shadow anyway. But I was like, I can't tell anything ahead of me. Like, I don't see brake lights ahead of me. And this is all within like a second or two that this is all processing. And so, you know, I hadn't even accelerated. I just accelerated enough just to turn off the street onto my street. And then I'm riding the brake. And then so I'm pressing the brake harder because I can't see what's ahead of me. And I know there's a red light up ahead somewhere, but I'm not seeing it. And then as I'm pressing the brake harder, next thing I know, boom, I've collided, and there's a vehicle, which I still, even when I collided into it, I still couldn't see what was in front of me because of sunlight and the shadow. Get out, and it's a big black truck. And so it did damage, but it didn't do a whole lot of damage. Of course, he was alright, I was alright. That's the main important things. From what I can tell, the damage was his bumper got bumped, smooshed in on one side, and then the front end of my car is a little smashed up. It's not horrible. I hate myself for that. I really hate myself for that. But, I mean, I couldn't see. But I noticed as he was driving off ahead of me, like the light caught me after he drove off. But anyway, I saw him drive off and no brake lights. I mean, it's not his fault. None of it's his fault. But I think had his brake lights had been working, I would have clearly been able to see those in the shadowy portion. It wouldn't have just been the shadowy portion. Because I saw the brake lights up in the other lane. But, yeah. I don't feel great about that, for sure. Because I had such a good driving record. And that happened. But things happen, and it could have been a whole lot worse than what it was. So, that's one of those times where I think my intuition was telling me, like, go home. Don't even go to Dollar Tree, but no. And that happened. So, yeah. And then, of course, I don't know. There's been other weird things that have happened recently. I'm not going to go into those because this has been a stupidly long video. I'm thinking here, like, oh, maybe I'll spend about 15 minutes talking, but I know it's been longer than 15 minutes. And I'm watching the snow accumulate outside, which it looks like the snow has let off. It's not snowing as much as it was when I started this video. But yeah, that's where we're at. So, I thought I would update y'all. And that's, like, all this stuff, especially with the aunt and my dad's situation. Like that. Well, my aunt especially, that's been hard. That's been really hard. Yeah. There are times where well, anyway, like I said, it's been hard. And that's a big reason why I haven't really done anything on here. Haven't felt like it. But, I just thought I'd catch y'all up. Because it's been a long time, and I think I'm going to film some more videos. I don't know. I always say that. I'm a big liar. But, I was working on my dollhouse. And I think I'm going to put, like, I'm going to pause working on the dollhouse, but I'm going to work on my other dollhouse that I really want to work on. The one that I want to make into a vampire house. I know it sounds silly every time I say it out loud. Because I have, like, a clearer vision for that. The dollhouse that I've been working on for over 20 years now, I still, like, I have an idea what I want to do with it, but I don't really have a clear vision with it. And I'm to the point where I need to start, like, working on decorating the interior of it, or kind of get that kind of planned out. And I have no clue what I want to do, because I'm at a point where, like, I need to do that while I'm working on it, because it'd be easier to do that, because if I don't do it now and I keep like finishing parts of it, for one, it's not really going to be finished, but it's just going to be really difficult to do those parts later on if I do any more construction on it. So I want to get some of the interior decorating, like just basically I need to get some of that, like have a better idea of what I want to do with that before I continue with the construction of it. So it's just a matter of having enough space to work on everything. So I think, like, if I do start working on the vampire dollhouse soon, I want to start filming that process, just cause. So we'll see. There maybe like a series of videos, just dollhouse videos. This may turn into like a whole dollhouse content thing. I don't know. I always say stuff and I never follow through. But yeah, so gosh, I don't know. I guess I just need to vent. That's why I'm on here, and I'm working on this now. So yeah, I hope people are doing a heck of a lot better than what I've been doing. But this is the thing. I guess one kind of final thought to all this. Like, yeah, I've been bummed out recently. Things have been like, woe is me. It's a thing. Like, I go through these cycles. It's just every so many years this kind of stuff happens. These really series of unfortunate events happen, and things are kind of doom and gloom for a while, but then they get better. So I know they've got to get better. They've got to get better soon. And now my battery is blinking at me saying time's up, babe. So anyway, again, I hope everybody's doing a lot better than I am, and I know things are going to get better. And yeah, so that's it for now. And there's a few flakes falling now. It's kind of accumulated. You can see it on my car, my smashed up car.